Right then, that time when we look back at what happened, what went right, what went wrong, good and bad, and lots more. England versus India, a big series, 5 match, should have been 5, ended on the 4th. We know it isn't over yet, or maybe it is, but maybe that's the key word. Everything around us is a bit of a maybe or maybe not, just the kind of times we live in. Peak uncertainty. But this series was a great joy nonetheless. I would say joy sandwiched between two layers of disappointment. The series didn't start the right way, didn't end the right way, soggy draw in Nottingham due to rain. Check that. After that, joy part, the historic highs of London for India after that plummet to a low of equal proportions in Leeds before bouncing back in London again as the London love continued. A historic victory after 50 years at the Oval. In Manchester, let's not go there, it got cancelled. So that's how it went. 2-1 right now. Whether it will remain 2-1, become 2-all, would these countries meet again? Would that be a standalone contest? Lots of questions to answer that we do not have the answers of. What we do have the answers to, however, is who did what in this series. And for that, we have our series report. Where do we start with and with whom? How many of us would have thought and pictured this at the start of the series? Ollie Robinson, 21 wickets at 21.33, including 2 fifers in 166 overs, more overs than anybody else on either side, on both teams. Leading wicket taker of the series, got Virat Kohli out a couple of times, troubled Rishabh Pant endlessly, and after Stuart Broad's exit, I think did everything his captain would have wanted him to do. Someone so young into his career, he looked extremely good and promising, and deserves a 9. And whom did Robinson compliment really well? The old war horse just keeps getting better and better, doesn't he? Jimmy Anderson, bowling with the Dukes in England, is like a fish in water. Tailor-made, 15 wickets for him at 24.66, and that terrifying fifer that broke India's back at Headingley. 163 overs of ending his bat at 39, no rest, no days off, the stuff of absolute legends, and he gets an 8 point. What do you speak of the next player? Jasprit Bumrah and the plethora of stuff he is capable of doing. This time there was just not a bowler Bumrah, but a batter too. An 89-run partnership alongside Shami, ever so crucial again in the context of that game. A best 2025 at the Oval, some 30-odd runs in Nottingham. But hang on, 18 wickets at a staggeringly impressive average of 20.8. Short ball barrages, pinpoint yorkers, start peeling off stumps, and a 9-wicket haul in the series. You talk of him and he has done it all. A 9.5, certain 9.5 for Jasprit. Next up, you cannot not talk about this magician from Maharashtra, Shardul Thakur. What do you say to him? It's just 2 test matches out of 4, but his contributions were big enough for him to make a space here. Was at his bodily best in the Oval Test, India 127-7. What does he do? Comes and slams 57 of 36. Counter-attacks, takes them to 191. In the second innings, a 60 of 72. With the ball, he dismisses Joe Root, a person that India probably had no clue how to dismiss. Twice in the series, 7 wickets in the series at 22, 117 runs with the bat. You have to have 9 on 10 for it. Speaking of Joe Root, and goodness, he was in some fine nick. Leading run scorer of the series, and wait for it. 564 runs at a Bradmanesque average of 94, 3 centuries back-to-back, all of them one better than the other, but is unbeaten 180 at Lords. Even India knew that they were in the midst of something extraordinarily special while that was going on. And I remember saying on one of our shows that during the third test, that if he does not play another game in this series, he still has numbers that would look mighty impressive in a 5-match series, let alone 3. He carried along England's batting lineup throughout, held them, and deserves nothing but a 9.5 on 10. But Captain Root, maybe not as sharp, questionable field placements, drop catches himself, some mess-ups while shuffling his bowlers as well. 6.5 for Captain Root. But how did his counterpart Virat Kohli fare? Not the way he would have liked. 218 at 31.14, far away from where he was during the 2018 tour when he owned everything as a batsman. A bit of old troubles outside the off-stump, again creeping into his game from 2014 tour into 2021. Did get a couple of half-centuries, but for a man of his caliber, that's way below par. But he has himself to blame, he has set the standard that high. So a 7 on 10 for him. But Captain Kohli, batsman Kohli done, captain Kohli, keeper side that lost at Headingley, and he hardly did anything wrong. Tosses didn't go his way either. India were under the pump so many times in the series, but he just found out ways for the team to bounce back and come out of that hole. Improved his records in the DRS section as well in the latter half of the series, and hence a 9 on 10 for skipper Virat Kohli. But what did Rohit Sharma do? He did everything India would have wanted him to do. Everything. 368 runs at 52.57. Foundation setting done his first overseas at the Oval, and 83 before that, which looked like an approaching century under tough batting conditions, mind you. Played 866 balls in the series, and only 2 times was he dismissed on balls fewer than 100 balls in his entire innings. And all of this when he was opening in the country as an opener for the very first time. A venue where odds are stacked perpetually against the openers, specifically if they are visiting batsmen, and this is what he does. So why not a 10 and a 9 for him? 9 on 10 for him because he kept getting out the same way, pulling the ball again and again, getting out and falling the same way. So a 9 on 10 for Rohit Sharma. How did his partner KL Rahul do? Rahul is like that cool, calm-headed customer. Does not get a lot of spotlight but gets the job done. He was a comeback man after 2019, playing his first test match, was being looked as a middle order batsman, but then has to suddenly open because of injuries to Shubman Gill, to Mayank Agarwal. And what does he do? Embraces the challenge so beautifully, gives his team those brilliant starts back to back again and again, and multiple times, and ends with 315 runs at 39.37, a certain 9 for him. And this segment won't be complete without talking about Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane. Pujara, for his part, I felt had a series of 2 halves. Runs did not come in the first couple of matches, but then a couple of half centuries, 91 at Leeds, 61 at Old Trafford, showed the glimpses of the old Pujara that we know so very well. And dare I say, he was aggressive in 61 at the Oval. Not a term that you would often associate with someone like Pujara, but the cuts, the pulls, the shots that he played showed an aggressive intent as well, and has lots to look forward to. 227 at 32.4, 6.5 on 10 by his own high standards. And what of Rahane? Giants of drop him, questions over his place in the side, demoted below Jadeja in the last test match, 109 runs in the entire series at a very forgettable average of 15.5. With only one knock of substance, that half century at Lords, that one did have a role to play, and that is exactly why I would give him a 6 instead of 5.5, because that one played a crucial role in one of India's finest test victories overseas, and hence he gets a 6. So that is how this series went, but a lot to look forward to. There's an IPL coming which has its own twist with the COVID-19 virus. Earlier this year, there's a T20 World Cup as well, and we here at Cricket Tracker will be bringing all the action as it unfolds for you. But for that, subscribe to all our social media channels. Just takes a click, free of cost. Until next time, this is Pratya Tiwari signing off.